Hello and welcome back to Deadfall. This is BioEnchanted and today we're going through the Mayan jungle. This one is a much prettier level than the mines. Just bear with me while we resume the game. There we are.
Quatermain, are you alright?
Well, if you want to give me the kiss of life.
In your dreams.
I sure hope so. Let's check what's left of the plane. Maybe we can salvage some of the equipment.
This level is somewhat sprawling, but it's mostly just loops in one area with only one real choke point to leave. And there's very little stuff on the big loops. Like this whole area is one.
No sign of the storm.
It did its job anyway.
This is one big loop, kind of, this small area we start in, but we don't need to go around the loop, so we're not going to. We're just going to go up here.
Maybe just a Russian tourist who got lost?
Yeah, on his way to a major...
Let's just let it let's just get there while it's
We got a map.
reloading. Like that one shot from earlier in the Ice Temple. As you can see, it looks more sprawling than it is. It's really more of a giant U. You just need to know which walls to hug to find the secrets, pretty much. Like here, we could go left, but we'd be skipping the secrets along the right wall here. So let's go along the right wall and pick up the things, shall we? This puzzle coming up gave me no end of trouble, because I'm very bad at this kind of console aiming in very quickly at these small targets. Normally this one takes me forever to do. But that time I got it first try. You just need to hit all three of them within a very small time window, otherwise they'll reset. And honestly, I often find it really difficult to make those shots, because they're very precise. I guess I just got really lucky there. Well, I'm better at aiming in this game than I thought I was.
Pretty high up in those trees. Any ideas?
2, actually.
So let's see what we can do. The crosshair went red. I think that's all we can really say. Time to blow up the engines. That should set the vines on fire and release the plane, shouldn't it? So a little bit brute force, but we've kind of crashed it into the jungle, so the landing was fairly brute force anyway.
Just like the
So let's head inside there, shall we?
Who?
Oh, just get our equipment. We also need to contact the professor. Unless you want to end up living here with the monkeys. Although maybe in your case.
So we have some dynamite. Time to cut yet another Gordian knot, I guess. And a nice little machine gun. Always nice to have. Whatever mechanism used to control this door, it looks like the door's kind of off-center and probably a little bit damaged. So let's just try and brute force our way through it, shall we? I quite like the way this area looks. It's very lush compared to the other areas we've been through so far, which have mostly been internal tombs or ice.
We need to be careful.
Because this is where the final part of the heart is hidden, so this is actually the final and longest sort of chapter in the game. Like, I kind of refer to the chapters as Egypt, Antarctica, and, I mean Arctic rather, the Arctic, and then this area, after the mines, which is like a detour, really.
Any idea how to get this thing open? Dynamite, maybe?
How come seeing the magnificent artwork of a highly developed civilization only makes you want to blow things up?
Talk about losing your head.
If only I had a nickel for every bad joke.
At least it wasn't us this time. But yeah, I kind of consider this game to be divided really into 4 sort of chapters. which are denoted by the 4 areas you go to. It's just we're in the Mayan area the longest. It's like 5 levels long. Compared to everything else, which is 1 or 2, pretty much. With the longest so far being the Arctic base, which is 3 levels long. But now we're in the jungle for the long haul, pretty much. Then again though, it's for a good reason though. It's not like it's going to be all jungle all the time like the Arctic base kind of got at times. With the first 2 levels seeming a little bit similar from the beginning of them. Here we have a level of jungle, and then things will vary from there. And this area does have the most variance in environments. It's not just inside the same kinds of Egyptian pyramids, and then inside the same, and then the same kind of deserts, and then inside the same desert area, but now it's desert because it's ice, kind of a thing. It's a bit more variety than that. And I quite like just the greenery and just the colours. It's a very vibrant area. So it's a nice little kind of an area to go through that feels more lively than the others have been beforehand. So of course we couldn't go the entire game without something hidden behind a waterfall, could we? So let's head this way first. Because of course there's something behind the waterfall. There always is. Yeah, that was a drop, so we can't go back. Let's take care of these guys, and they burst into flame really fast now because of this flashlight upgrades we've been getting. It's really nice to have this level of flashlight. Let's open this little shack so we can get into the secret in here too. There's actually quite a lot of secrets in this level, but again they're kind of on a path, so you don't really feel like you're going in big circles all the time trying to find them. With one exception that's a little bit annoying with where it's hidden, but we'll see that shortly. This is the only secret in this big area, even though it's a fairly large, surprisingly large tunnel to go through to get back out of this area again. We've got all the stuff of use here, but I quite like all the set piece, like all the set dressing, like the cages and the skeletons and stuff. It implies a lot about what they were using this area for, aka or the IE, I think would be a better acronym there. A makeshift prison kind of area. So now we'll go for what the compass was actually pointing us to beforehand. This one's very hard to find actually, it's very easily missed, because it's a very small hole we're looking for. And it's very easily just not spotted there, especially with the deforming water on top of it kind of making it go wobbly. It can be really hard to see that particular treasure. I quite like the music here, it's very pensive. And of course, this area is kind of fun to shoot our way through, and we'll see why in a few moments, once I've used this statue to get a few upgrades. Or seeing if I can afford any upgrades, which I can't unfortunately, but soon. Like one of each treasure, I'll be able to upgrade some stuff. We have a lot of Nazis to fight, but we also have a lot of traps in this area. So let's crest the staircase to find both, shall we? One thing I've always been bad at in this game though is getting these traps to actually hit the guys, because sometimes you hit like the wrong panel or think they're going to get hit by a trap that they don't get hit by. I think I got a few of them with that one though.
Might have to do with the tenant.
I quite like these set-piece fights in this area because they have all of the traps that you have access to, and unlike the other fights where they had traps available, in this case it's actually worth using the traps. There's quite a lot of guys to fight here. This is also a very kind of loopy area. It's got a lot of side paths, which means it's kind of easy to get flanked to if you're not careful. If you don't know where all the side paths are, you can quite easily have someone sneak up behind you or on one side of you, and that can be really annoying to deal with. These are actually really good pistols, not because of their firepower, which is ample, but also because their reload animation is way faster than the revolvers are. Because instead of having to put each bullet in one at a time, he just enters, like, he slides a clip in there, which is much faster. Or at least it feels faster anyway. Like this. See? Isn't that much better? Although with the little, like, the weird way the barrels have that strange kind of look on the back of them, it makes it look more like those rolls of old rolls of film you got for old film cameras. Like, it would remind me a lot of the caps on those little rolls. Like we're shooting people with movie magic. Which is fitting with the Indiana Jones pastiche. I wouldn't say pastiche actually, it's fairly straightforward Indiana Jones-esque story. Not really a parody of one, it's just a straightforward Indiana Jones story. With the serial numbers filed off. Now some of these areas can actually be quite tricky with these firefights, because some of the firefights in this area go on from multiple sort of sub-areas, so it can be hard to tell whether you're missing something or whether you're not when it comes to secrets. Because it's not like the other levels where it's just go to a room, you fight all the men, and then explore that room like it was before. In this case, there's men all over the place, you just need to fight them, and then search when you feel it's safe to. I wasn't sure if that was him or the switch, so I figured I'd be on the safe side. So that's that part of the fight done. Although it's kind of hard to tell because, again, because this all counts as one big fight, the music doesn't really stop. So it can be kind of hard to tell when you've killed all the enemies in one area. Like this, for example, it should have stopped the music and said that way earlier, but it didn't. This is really hard to see. These bags blend in really well. It's like that one map in Get Even in like the last level for you. That was a terrible map. Completely blended in with the floor, and same with those bags there. They also pretty much blended in pretty perfectly. This is the fight I end up coming up here. Up these stairs, fighting all of these guys, and yeah, I died at the beginning of this fight, that was embarrassing. We have a lot of guys to kill here, along a really long stretch of the level. And there are actually a couple of secrets in this area as well, or one secret in this area that's... the game doesn't really point you to it very effectively. You have to kind of wander towards it and know where it is. So it can be very easy to miss it or not realise it's even there. Because unlike a lot of the whole small room with a lot of enemies, fight the enemies and then search the room, where you can see the compass moving around, pointing at various points of the room, you can go, okay, that's a secret over here and over here. In this case, the room's too big for that, so the compass often just doesn't point in the right direction. You can see me constantly checking it to see, oh, am I in the vicinity here? Am I in the vicinity here? And from this point, I'm just moving further and further away from it because I'm not in the vicinity. Because the compass, I'm just never close enough. It's not that difficult to fight, it's just a long fight. So it feels like, so if you end up dying during this fight, it really is unpleasant because it means you have to do the whole fight again, and it's a long fight with no checkpoints and no clear kind of breaks. You can't just say, okay, I've killed all the enemies in this bit of an area, and now I need to go over to that bit of an area, because it's all one big stretch over here. I figured I'd try and use some dynamite, 'cause I never use it in battle, because I'm too busy shooting people. I figure I might as well try and use the grenade like. Well, I don't have an actual grenade anyway. Well, that was lucky. There's a lot of grenade markers there this time. Maybe that guy looked like he was still alive though, because of the way he was slumped. He looked like he was just taking cover, so that was, I'm not gonna say that was entirely on me. Oh dear, he's still alive. There we are. I quite like all the set dressing in this level. Despite the fact it's largely just one big firefight, and honestly the puzzle's the more interesting part of this game, it's still got a lot of personality to it because of all of the ruins and everything that we're navigating through, and I also quite like that we're seeing clearly more and more ruin as we go through this part of the game. We're definitely approaching something. It does a good job building the tension of that as we approach the cradle of the Aztec civilization, basically. And I'm pretty much just waiting here for the music to stop. Basically, I've killed all the enemies and the music to stop. Just so that I can make sure that on the way to any secrets I don't get shot in the back like an idiot. But yeah, this area is just a little bit too big for my liking. There's a lot of things here and a lot of guys here that are shooting at you, and there's only one secret here, so it's kind of needle in a haystack, and it's just a little annoying to make sure you don't miss anything here. But we're very nearly done with the enemies, so at least it's just pure exploration to go. That was a close one. That could have been very bad if he had kept shooting me. I could have died there. Happily, I didn't. But now she's following me, so I feel it's kind of safe to just... well, make sure there's one last guy killed, just to make sure he doesn't follow me like a terrible person. There's just this one guy, I think. Or a couple of guys left, actually, but not many in general. I'm just a little too far away to really hit anything from here, so I need to get a bit closer in. Just not too close. Because of course being over here means we're now in range of those two guys inside this next big room. Big room, this next little room. So let's use this feather off to take him out, shall we? There we go.
They're tenacious, I'll give them that.
And now we're done with that. So before we do the puzzle...
Not too much to ask.
1 hour without you complaining? Is that too much to ask?
First of all, ooh, burn. Secondly, now that we've taken out all the Nazis in this area, finally it's time to find the secrets. And it's not the one we've been pointed to right now. There was one right at the start of this firefight, pretty much. We're going to go all the way back there to grab it now.
That statue looks like it's been moved. Anything about it in the note?
She's talking about a different thing. We'll see that in a minute. There's a lot of little side areas as well that could go down to the secret but don't. So that makes it kind of tricky to find as well, because there's just so much sprawl in this area that figuring out which parts of it are relevant and which parts aren't is quite tricky. But here we go, we're finally being pointed towards it, and there's this little very well hidden staircase right at the back of the area. Again, of course, guarded by zombies, so let's take them out down, shall we? I feel like they kind of die immediately because we're in the sun right now, we're outside. And yeah, that part of that coffin blocks the path of light there, but we can still pick it up through the coffin, which is very nice of it. So that's that secret now, we just need to move on. I saw a little bit to cross off the treasure. On the big list of treasures in this level that I'm using to find them all. That I wrote up myself. I'm not really using an FAQ for them unless I absolutely need to find a particular one I'm having trouble with. Generally, I'm just writing them down as I scour the level for them. Here we go, time to solve a puzzle.
Anything about it in the note?
Once we've grabbed this thing over here. Oh, there's another statue that's been moved, yay. This door is actually intact this time, so we can't just blow it up this time, it's not that easy. It's still a fairly easy puzzle though. First of all, this thing here is actually a kind of ripcord kind of mechanism in that you wind it up. It's like a clockwork thing, you wind it up, and then you let it go. Which means we have until that completely rights itself to solve this puzzle, and make the eagle on the left and the elephant on the right. So let's do that real quick before the puzzle ends, shall we? Eagle on left. I mean, it's a fairly basic puzzle, but if you don't understand how the mechanisms actually tie together, it can take a little bit to work out how it fits together and how it really works. But it's a fairly basic one, though, when you work out the order of operations.
Anyone ever make it here without crashing?
It must be that weird storm. I've never seen anything like it.
I do quite like that we have multiple crashed vehicles all over the place, not just our own. It's like every vehicle we see. It reminds me of the Tomb Raider reboot, where there's always like another set of ships somewhere offshore. It gives a nice feeling of this area does not want us here, it doesn't want anyone here, and if you try and come here, it will strike you out of the sky. And you'll go falling quite far and crash and get overgrown. This, we just have to avoid this blade. Easy enough. Trying to time it. I said easy enough. What was going wrong with me? Past me? Wait, that one's not as easily triggered, pretty much. You have to kind of jump back a little bit once you triggered that one before it really allows you to get past it without getting unscathed. But happily, I think probably because we're on normal difficulty instead of hard, it doesn't instantly kill us. We can just kind of tank it, which is nice enough. I also quite like the traps are getting more dangerous as we approach our objective as well. For starters, it was just like pressure plates, so like traps that wouldn't trigger unless we explicitly triggered them, and now they're triggering from proximity. And yes, there is a gas can there as well, another jerry can. But unlike in the mines, we'll never actually have to use those jerry cans again, pretty much. We never have to pick another one up again. It's only that one in the mine that does that. There's no texture difference at all. It's just so arbitrary. I don't know why they did that. If they at least made the jerry can and the mines like red or something to show, hey, this is an interactive thing, interact with it, that might have been helpful, but they didn't. It's just nothing. I quite like all the water features and everything like that here. Even if it's fairly basic water effects, it's nice to have. And of course, now we actually have some treasures, we can upgrade a few things. That'll be very useful coming up. As will this. not got many upgrades to go now. So yeah, here, of course, the trick is the reload again. Trigger it. Or just shoot the thing to clear it, actually. I've misremembered how that trap works. This part's kind of tricky. You can't really disarm these ones. You just kind of have to time your way past them. I do take a look to see if I can disarm them, because I've kind of forgotten how this trap exactly works. I thought you could disarm it, but I thought I'd just forgotten how to do it, or that maybe I screwed up the puzzle, but no, you just have to dodge. There's no other way around it, so let's just dodge all these spikes, shall we? All these spears. In first person, which is always fun. If I was just a little bit further ahead, though, I would have got skewered by that. That would have been my fault entirely. But also the field of view, because this kind of trap's really hard to avoid in first person. So I put them in first person. Mean. And of course you have to walk through a giant log. It's a jungle level. We'll always have to walk through a giant log in the jungle level. Whether it's Final Fantasy or Psychonauts, we always have to walk through the giant log in the jungle level.
God, I mean, this is amazing.
I really quite like this set piece. It's very unique, and it's always nice to have unique set pieces. We never see anything quite like this ship again.
Early 17th century. Classic design.
You can tell that from some decayed old wreck?
Archaeologist, remember?
Right. I got so used to seeing you take out armed thugs, I forgot about the bookworm stuff.
To be honest, after all this, I'm starting to as well.
Of course, there's treasure in here. And something more interesting, too.
What do we have here?
1625.
A little lore.
In the name of the one God of the Holy Trinity, we have come, the subjects of Philip IV, His Majesty the King of Spain, to claim the riches of this land. We have established a mission, and our leader, Sebastián de Álvarez, has led many expeditions in search for gold and treasure. Yet we have found nothing but death.
It's about a guy named Alvarez.
A Spanish conquistador known as God's Wrath. A particularly ruthless man. He even fought and murdered other conquistadores.
Nice guy. Pity he's not around anymore to run into.
This is actually one of the few notes we'll see throughout the rest of the game. It's like this weird side plot of these like random people throughout history that got here and died horribly. Which adds some character to the level, because it means we're not the only one. It's not just us and the Nazis. Other people tried to get this part done. It's just that they all failed. And of course we get to play with the cannon.
Let's go.
It's always fun to play with the cannon, and since all of our most of our puzzles for for advancing beyond certain paths have involved blowing up those paths, it kind of is a good escalation really from dynamite to just straight up a cannon. This is a bit of a visual puzzle. The trick here really is this. One side has is empty, one side has spikes. Figure out which side has the empty and which side has the spikes. Like, that's the spike side, don't go that way. This is the empty side, go this way. Every junction we just need to see spikes, no spikes, and go through the no spikes area. It's an interesting kind of a thing. It makes you pay attention to the environment. It's not really that much of a puzzle, but it's a clever way of getting you invested in where you're standing and what the environment looks like and everything. And it's good visual storytelling as well, that some of the traps work, and we're getting to increasing amounts of more deadly traps that work better. It's just some of them are still half broken down. Yeah, the path here is very winding, but surprisingly narrow. Even though it looks on the map like it's a really big area, it's very linear if you know where you're meant to be going. And here, of course, is the final escalation of these kind of traps. You see, before we had to trigger the traps, whether by standing on something or by getting in or shooting them directly. But here, the traps trigger themselves when we pass a certain point. I think we've stepped on something. So now we have to figure out how to get them to untrigger. And of course, the trick is we have to shoot them while they're up, which I'm failing at here completely. But to make it easy, I have a little pause when they get to the top of their arc though, which is very nice of them. Oops, screwed that one up again. This one's less of a puzzle, but it still requires a little bit of thought with like timing and everything like that, mostly. Just making sure there's nothing else we can get, and there really isn't, although there's only one more upgrade for each of the paths now. Well, if you count the sub-paths as separate paths anyway. Of course, this log actually marks a transition.
Must be the place that monk wrote about. Not bad for a humble mission.
So yep, the conquistadors found the ruin and built a church there, so that they could use it as a home base. And then they all died. And now it's just us fighting Nazis in this set of two kinds of ruins. I quite like that we're in two kinds of overlapping ruin right at the end here. This is what the whole area was building up to, starting from a dense forest with no form of civilization, to increasingly dense sets of ruins that had more and more buildings to them each time we get to each of them. And also traps that are more and more intact and less broken down as it goes on as well. It's a decent escalation of the action so far. Since of course the rest of the game is set in varying types of Mayan ruins, but we'll see that as it goes on. Now there's actually a second path we could have taken. We could have gone the upper routes, which would have given us the drop on these guys, but I figured I'd go this way because I never go this way. And also this gives us the drop of all of them. In this way, the enemies don't fan out to both go downstairs and up this way as well, like I believe they would do if I'd gone the upper way. So this way it means they're always funneling towards us, while trying to blow grenades off our faces. Or blow our faces off with grenades rather. This guy's got a lot of grenades. Let's get out of the way of that, shall we? Not much longer to go this level, though we're nearly done. Nearly done fighting everyone here. There's only a few guys left, just up those last set of stairs. I'm just looking for any guns I can use. There we go, it's a little better. A few bullets. Or rounds rather, I guess. Sorry for any TFR goons that are annoyed by the fact that I keep calling them all bullets. This is of course the other route we could have taken, the upper route, which is a much narrower kind of funnel, but also it would have resulted in the guys downstairs not being alerted till we got this far, and then they were coming up behind us and being a pain. So let's now take care of all the guys in the church, shall we, as they come out to meet us and say hi. Of course we see our penultimate treasure over there as well, we just need to fight our way to it. Just a few more guys to take down now. That was an annoying waste of the last part of the ammo for that gun. Of course, while there are still firearm enemies coming up, this is kind of the swan song for them, really. I mean, the other firearm enemies that come up aren't nearly as many of them. They mostly become zombie fights from this point on.
We have found the gates of hell. Of this I am certain. Truly the world is full of ghosts. Not seated churchyard specters, but the inextinguishable elements of individual life, which having once been, can never die. Though they blend and change again forever. Many of our men have fallen prey to the demons who lurk in this jungle. The local pagans believe that beyond a great gate lies a passage to the city of death. The city they call Xibalba.
Xibalba?
The Mayan city of death. Lovely. So that's where we're heading.
One thing I quite like with those notes is I just noticed is you can actually hear the original Spanish underneath the translation. I quite like that. Although the accent is really less Spanish and more Peter Lorre. By way of, like, stereotypical Mexican more than anything else. Like, it's less Spanish and more that kind of hunchback kind of, but master kind of a thing. Of course, this last puzzle requires us to find a couple of statues lying around, which are very easy to overlook if you don't know what you're looking for. Those statues kind of blend into the environment because it's just yellow on yellow. If they were straight up golden, we could see them better, or silver, or something other than the same colour as the sand and bricks we're already on. But now that we've done that, we can get across these crocodiles, because now we've raised this walkway. Yeah, the crocodiles are weird because they're never actually a thing. They're just there for set dressing. They're never an enemy. They're never really an obstacle, even. They're just there as a kind of, if you fall down here, it's just there to kind of describe why something's a death pit. Which is better, I guess, than just making it bottomless, but it's still a little bit weird. But here we have our final major puzzle of the level, and a fairly neat one.
Choice of profession among these Mayans.
Although a bit of a pain with the controls on the 360 because of the whole inaccuracy of the right stick, but of course it's a jigsaw. I've always been a sucker for jigsaws, so I quite like these kind of puzzles. I've never minded jigsaws much. I always quite like doing them. And it's a fairly basic jigsaw as well, as each piece can only really go in one place. The main thing is, if it's not close enough to where the outline is, it just won't accept it and it'll just shunt it back to where it initially started from. So you need to make sure you're completely lined up, pretty much. Or at least close enough as to, that you can see it definitely snapping in there. Well, that will happen. But at least it doesn't re-rotate it, it just kind of puts it back to where it was on the map. Map on the table, rather. But of course, it's just a matter of, like a child's jigsaw, watching the outlines of the shapes on the actual panel. Well, that was definitely there, come on. Didn't we mean? That was way off, but that was my fault. There we are. Last piece.
Somebody really doesn't want us here.
This is a fairly neat fight. A lot of the fights from this point on will actually have something to do with messing around with the lighting of the level. In this case, blotting out the sun with a sandstorm. And of course, the enemies here get a lot harder for these kind of enemies because A, they all have shields, so the flashlight takes a lot longer to work on them. Because of course you need to do the flashlight around the shields. You have to get rid of the shield first, and the shields take a lot of damage, really. Well, at least they take a good amount of damage. But also, they also all have swords which do a lot of damage. If you get cornered too badly by one of these guys, they can do a lot of damage very quickly, and they're coming in swarms, as you can see now. They're coming like 2s and 3s all at once. And it's going to get worse than that as well. This is very basic as far as these kind of fights get. They're swarming, but they're not swarming as badly as they will do later on. They get really swarmy later on. But this is kind of a cool fight though. I quite like the sandstorm. It adds a bit of character to it. And it definitely does a good job of the whole kind of opening the gates of Xibalba, and whoops, it doesn't want us in there. So of course all the guardians of Xibalba are coming out in force now to stop us. But this is one of those fights where it can be quite daunting. But generally it's one of those things where if I expect to have trouble with a fight like this, I tend to just breeze past it.
Well, that was fun.
Because often I end up dying during that fight. But that's that level over now. So we've now completed the Mayan jungle. And now we're here at the Mayan catacombs.
From what I can decipher, the structure we just entered was designed to test whether we are worthy to enter Xibalba.
Let me guess. Traps?
Good guess.
I'll see you next time as we go through the catacombs. Goodbye.